One of Stanton's problems is when he is out and about, he loses focus very easily, especially if other dogs are around. This is a simple focus exercise. I have one treat in my right hand because I'm right-handed. I have a whole bunch of treats in my left-handed. If you're left, just keep one treat here and the rest here. I close my hands into fists and I have my knees about shoulder width apart with the dog sitting in front of me. Now what I'm doing, I want to know that we have a treat here, is I'm waiting for him to give me voluntary eye contact. Focus. So I'm not enticing him, I'm waiting for him to look at me on his own. When he looks at my face, focus. So it's two movements. One movement, focus. Two movements, the second one. So it's like an L or a 7. Focus. So I want to raise it about 6 inches in front of my nose and then wait. Focus. Go a straight line towards his nose. So what turns out, what happens is he starts focus. You can see he's looking at me more and more often. So this teaches the dog, if you look up at the human's face, focus. Good things happen. Now we're assigning a command word of focus. Focus. So that later on, when we have a dog that's distracted, we can give him the focus cue, and he's practiced enough, he knows if I sit down and look at my human, I'm going to get a high value treat. Focus. So when you do this, you want to give yourself maybe about 10 treats, 10 to 15 treats, and then do these, do the 15, and then do it later on. Now, something we talked about a little bit earlier is when we were doing some training with Stanton, when his guardian was, sometimes when things got a little frustrating or difficult, Stanton would roll over and show his belly to his guardian. A lot of times when dogs do this, it means that they understand the guardian is frustrated and they're trying to take a very submissive posture to say, hey man, whatever's going on that's making you upset, I'm hoping I'm not a part of it. And if I am, let me just throw myself in the mercy of the court. So if your dog rolls over and gives you his belly when you're petting it, which is very relaxed and it's gradual, you can continue petting. But if your dog immediately rolls over and gives you its belly, don't pet it because you're reinforcing kind of an unbalanced or insecure state of mind. Now when it comes to training, the best, let me see how to best put this. Dogs get a little bit, you're going to get a better success rate the first minute to minute and a half of training once the dog understands the exercise. Once you get in about 2 minutes to 3 minutes, you might get a couple failures sprinkled in. Then when you get to 4 to 5 minutes, you'll have even more. Go over 5 minutes, you're going to have mostly failures with occasional successes. The reason that happens is dogs' neurons, which sends the impulse in their brain, start getting fatigued. So 1 to 3 minutes is the ideal training length. What I have found is about a minute, 120 seconds is really the best, a minute and a half. And then you always end it on a successful one. You want the dog to have a pleasant memory of the activity the next time you do it so they look forward to it. If you get frustrated or your dog is frustrated, you both know it. And then it's no longer a fun exercise. So I like how he's sitting here still focusing on me. We have residual carryover. So make sure you keep your training sessions short. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, when it's only a minute long, and then we forget to do it at all. If it's 5 minutes, we'll muscle through that, and we're just going to force our way through to the end. That's not the best way to go about training. We want to be happy, light, upbeat, and build the dog's confidence, and it should be a positive experience for both of you. So sprinkle it throughout your day. If you're training your dog to do something, I like to try to practice it 3 to 5 times a day in 1 to 2 minute training sessions each of those 5 times. I have found if I can do that for about 2 to 4 days in a row, the dog has it down, usually within the end of the first day, maybe the second day. By the time we get to the 3rd or 4th day, the dog is like on master level class. So when you're doing your training, keep it short, minute to a minute and a half. Always end it on a positive one and always use positive reinforcement. Getting back to the focus exercise, what we want to do is we want to practice it in a room like this where it's nice and quiet. There's nothing going on. There's no construction. There's not a TV or radio or anything like that. Once the dog has it and you've practiced maybe 3 to 5 times of the practice sessions or practice iterations where now the dog kind of knows the exercise. Then the next stage is maybe to do it with the TV on, with maybe an episode of the Dog Whisperer on, with the dog barking, but at only volume level 2. So you can barely hear it. And then you practice that. Then you gradually keep on, each time you practice it, not each treat, but each practice session, you make the volume a little bit louder and a little bit louder until you get to the point where your stereo sounds like there's, dogs on a mic, they're going crazy, and your dog ignores them because we've conditioned them. Now you have to do it very gradually. If you get to a certain volume and your dog is now distracted and reacting to the dog, back up a volume or two and keep on practicing at that level until the dog is consistent. Now when it comes to training, I usually like to go for 5 for 5 is what I like to call it. 5 repetitions in a row where the dog does it successfully, and do that on 2 back-to-back training sessions. Once you get to that point, you pretty much know that your dog's got it down. Now, one last little tip on training. A lot of people don't realize dogs generally learn twice. They learn with a hand signal. Here. Come here, buddy. Well, we're going to have to work on that. There we go. Here you go. Come on. Well, generally this is long, so I'm going to wrap it up. But basically, we usually teach a dog like to sit. We will hold our hand over their head, or we hold the treat, and we manipulate them into a sit. And we think that means when we go like this, they sit down, that they know it. They know that for a hand signal. They don't know for the auditory. So I always want to say the second the dog touches the lips, the command word, and only the command word. Many people say, good sit. Oh, what a good dog, Rover, you sat down. We want to say the command word sit as a command, and as soon as the dog sits, we put the treat in its mouth and say the word sit simultaneously. That's it. The more words we use, the more confusing it gets for the dog. So this is the focus exercise.